Welcome to Spotlight Gulf Coast, a weekly showcase of people and events across South Mississippi. Sponsored by the IP Casino Resort and Spa, Mississippi Power Company, Gulf Sales and Supply, and Butch Osterlet Autoplex.
Hi everyone, this is Todd Trenchard and this is our initial segment of Spotlight Gulf Coast right here on WXXV. Certainly want to thank the station for this unique opportunity, and what better way to get it kicked off than my good friend Butch Osterlet. Butch.
Glad to be with you, Todd.
Butch, I'm so excited about this. We've been talking about this for a couple months of having a quality show in a studio. There's so many great things that we're going to be able to do with this.
And the great thing about it is that XXV is donating a lot of time for us to do this.
Well, it's certainly a privilege to have you on the show. We've done this before, and I want to really quickly go through, how you got to South Mississippi. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, because I know you come from a big family. I've met most of them.
Family of 10, so it's definitely big. There's 7 boys, 3 girls, and Dad started us off working at 13 years of age. He was a believer of you started young and you learned how to work hard, because if you were going to be successful in life, didn't matter what you did, you had to be working hard.
Right.
So my first job in the car business was at 13. I was washing cars at the dealership, and I also was reconditioning used cars. And then after that, I went to college, and at 18, played college football at a couple of schools. And more important than that, I went into finance business in New Orleans, learned a lot about finance, worked for Associate Finance in New Orleans. Then Camille hit. And in Camille, my dad lost just about everything as a Ford dealer. So I phoned him up. I said, Dad, I want to help you make a comeback. He said, come on. He said, but I'm going to pay you only $600 a month. I said, man, I'm making $1,200 a month. He said, no, you're going to come for $600 a month. He says, I want to see if you're really dedicated to do this.
Right.
So I came, and my first job was a service manager of the Ford dealership. And I worked in the service department for about 2 or 3 years. Then I sold cars for 4 years. And then in 1974, the energy embargo hit, and I became general manager of the dealership.
So you started at the bottom and you worked your
up.
way up. And most people that are in a position for a long period of time do that. I mean, you have to learn the nuts and bolts. Your dad was a pretty wise man.
Well, he was a very wise man. The only problem, he had a egotistical son, me.
Yeah.
At 1983, I left him. He and I had ego problems, and I left him, which I did him wrong, really. And I still wish he was alive where he could forgive me. But I went to work running Treadwell Ford, Mobile, Alabama. I was general manager of Treadwell. Then at the end of 1983, I decided to buy my own deal. And my dad, I went to see him one day drinking coffee, and said, Butch, you want to buy the Ford store? I said, yeah. He asked me, do you have all the money? I never lied, but I lied that time. I said, yeah, I got it all. He said, well, you got 1 week. 1 week to bring me $600,000, and you got it. If you don't have $600,000, you're out.
Right.
So he wanted to find out if I could do it.
Right.
And I did it. It took me a week, but I got it done. In 1984, April the 1st, we opened up Butch Osterlet Ford. And obviously 38 years later,
right.
We've got Ford, Lincoln, Mazda. We've got a location in Wiggins, and we've been very successful. And that's really because of the Mississippi Gulf Coast. People have been so outstanding to us. And that brings me really into why I'm involved with you. You and I do a lot of things to try to help people in the community. And what I found out about you, Todd, was that you're not only a genuine guy, but you're a caring guy for all over the coast. So I found out what you did in Jackson County, and I got you over here in Harrison County. We're going to do the same thing in Harrison County.
Well, yeah, our paths have crossed quite a few years ago, and it was through the business, me being a banker and you being in the
Yeah,
car business, me driving a Cadillac, getting to know you. But what I
yeah,
know about you and the people that work for you, you got engaged in the community. And I think that's what's made you successful is that giving back, that and the commercials with you and Larry. I mean, I kept saying, "What is this?" And those commercials were so eye-catching, but it was sort of a smart marketing idea because you remembered it. But you put your money where your mouth was, and you've done a tremendous amount of good. I had no idea until this past, I guess, 2 years ago. I think we came over with Courtney, and I started seeing just how much you did in this community, and it's mind-boggling. I started telling people, I don't know that we have anyone else on the coast like this. We don't. I mean, I know them all. Why have you done that? Why have you given back so much and quietly for so many years?
well, one of the big things that we have to always remember is God is the number one thing in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe very strongly God has blessed me to be a very successful person. What is success? Is success how much money you have? Maybe so. But success to me is what can I do to help other people before the Lord takes me? And quite frankly, my businesses, a great portion of the profits we have go to helping other people in the community. For instance, we're very involved, as you know, with Make-A-Wish.
Mm-hmm.
I had the pleasure last year of doing something with Make-A-Wish where I sent a family to Hawaii to be with their daughter who was very sick. Uh, I was very touched by knowing that the whole family went
Mm-hmm.
because of what our people at the dealership did. And it's not me that makes it happen. Let me say this right now. I'm on this show for one reason, to encourage people on the Mississippi Gulf Coast to not only be proud of where you live, but help the Mississippi Gulf Coast grow. You can help it grow if you're helping other people.
Mm-hmm. And I
And
think when we got together, we just got about a minute before we have to go to a break. But what you and I have been talking about is how we can get others to catch that same fire. I
exactly.
mean, I caught it 25 years ago at Home of Grace.
You got me about three
And
years ago.
now we've sort of gotten together, and we're starting to our worlds are starting to come together, and it's really amazing to see what we can do. But we're just scratching the surface, and we have some exciting things with this advisory board that we're going to be setting
Exactly.
up in the Gulfport market. But it's not just Gulfport. You're involved in Jackson County. You just chaired the Jolly McCarty Memorial last year, which
Yeah.
obviously is a very
It was an
large
honor,
event
very big honor.
over there, and we did a lot of good. But I know on the second segment, I want to get a little bit more into certainly the Home of Grace, because I know the Home of Grace is very dear to your heart, and obviously mine also. So we do want to get involved with that on that. So we're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to come back. We're talking with Butch Osterlett, who is obviously well known to everybody. We'll be right back. So touch that remote. Well, Butch, obviously, we were talking about that you give back to a lot of organizations. We talked about Make-A-Wish Foundation, but the Humane Society, we've got a big thing coming up this summer where you're going to be sponsoring, I think, some kids.
I'm going to sponsor 40 underprivileged kids to go through the camp. We're really excited about that, Todd. There's a camp they have in the summertime, and they feed them and they talk to them about the features of living in Mississippi Gulf Coast. They talk about animals. They talk about how to take care of yourself better. And quite frankly, we're really excited on that one the most. It's about 40 kids that we're sending through the camp.
Now, you've gotten involved with all these great causes, and we're just touching, we could list literally a dozen of them. I mean, I know you've been named a professorship at the University of Southern Mississippi.
Yes, I had 5 professorships at Southern Mississippi that I support. Basically what it does is give money to the professors that are really putting a lot of time and effort in developing the young people of the Mississippi Gulf Coast
for
the future. Because quite frankly, the people that are going to take care of you, myself, and our viewers are those young people in college right now. So I got 5 professorships that I'm involved with. Very proud of that one. That's a good one.
I know you've been involved with some of our bigger foundations, the Emeril Lagasse Foundation, big with that. Again, all these great causes that themselves give out and help our community. I think the one that's probably as dear to your heart as anything as I've known is, Home of Grace, and we've talked about that from day one.
Home of Grace is very vital to me. I had, when I was a young Christian, a guy by the name of Rick Peden, who was a great doctor here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Rick Peden took me under his wings and took care of me emotionally in many ways. And so after he passed, he had a massive heart attack and passed. I decided I'd do something at Home of Grace to help the underprivileged that couldn't afford to have a place to stay. So Josh Barton and myself and his dad got together, and I built a home and named it after Rick Peden. It's called the Rick Peden Home. There's 8 men that stay in that home during treatment, and just recently I found out that over 1,000 men have gone through that home. So that's one that I'm very proud of, because it helps people not only get back to their families, but it also helps them to get their lives back together.
I know when we went out to the Home of Grace, and you've been to several graduations with me, and not only led the charge, but been there to, help lend your support to myself, Lee Bond. We've been out there, brought some people out there like Roy and Anthony and, some of the people that we know in the community. And once people see the Home of Grace, the light bulb goes off.
Exactly.
I mean, a lot of times when you're driving out in Van Cleve, you don't know what to expect, but as soon as you come around that corner, you see the lake, you see this beautiful facility, and I think it's just it's such a God thing when you get into that chapel.
It's a godly place. It's a godly place.
Most certainly is.
And it says on the wall where miracles happen.
Well, that's been up there a long, long time. So we certainly Home of Grace would certainly be, I think, for both of us, that one nonprofit or that one entity we have here in South Mississippi that
well, Todd, as you
we
know,
certainly want to talk about.
Excuse me for interrupting, but I want to remind you that I've had 2 nephews go through Home of Grace. And I'm very thankful for Home of Grace, what they did with the 2 nephews. One of them has developed into a counselor and doing a great job in counseling.
I spoke to him this morning.
Yeah.
He's a great guy, and obviously has a great future ahead of him. Now, when you go out and you talk to the men, I think that you're talking from the heart, because you've had that spiritual experience yourself, and you're not the kind of person that wears your faith in your pocket. I mean, you're outward about it, and you always have been. I remember the first time I ever met you, you were opening the dealership, and you said, before we cut this ribbon, I want to tell you a story. And you told me the story about the anchor holes.
Yeah.
And we had half the community out there waiting for us, but you were going to tell me that story. And I'll never forget that. it was God definitely before business, and you stuck to that, and God has certainly blessed you so you can be a blessing to others.
Well, one of the things that I believe in very strongly is whenever someone is depressed and around us in the business, we ask them if they'll mind if we pray for them.
Mm-hmm.
We pray right openly in the business. I believe in it. I believe very strongly that we can help other people emotionally. And I believe that we ought, as Christians, be encouraging other people. And the whole theme about this show is important. What can we optimistically do on the Mississippi Gulf Coast to further it and make it better and better, not only for the community here now, but for the future community?
Mm-hmm. Now, again, Home of Grace is a place where people's lives change. And I think we've broken through the stigma that, just because you have a stronghold, whether it be alcohol, drugs, something else that has kept you down, you can get through that and have another whole life. And I think that we're both examples of that. If you would have stayed the way that you were.
I was in bar rooms all the time, and I was rocking and rolling and living the wild life for a long time.
You're a king of carnival. It's got to be.
Carnival,
you got to have a good time doing that.
I've done a lot of things wild and crazy, but the one thing I found out is the love that I was looking for in life. Mm-hmm. The love came from Jesus Christ, mm-hmm. and Jesus Christ was my answer. June the 30th of '97, I had a man come in with a Bible to see me, and he shocked me. He came in my office and opened up the Bible to Corinthians and wanted to talk to me, but he was talking for God. Mm-hmm. And June the 30th of '97, my life changed. The whole thing is all of our lives can change if we focus our life on Jesus.
Well, thank you, Butch. We're going to be joined on the next segment with Josh Barton, and we're going to talk a lot more about the Home of Grace. So don't touch that remote. We'll be right back. Welcome, Josh, to this segment, and I know you two know each other quite well.
Very well.
And I just learned something. I didn't realize that you and Billy and Josh got together on the Peden home. I remember when that was built. I can remember the original one that sort of went around the circle. That's about halfway around there, but I do remember touring that and hearing the story about Dr. Peden.
Great guy. What a great guy. Dr. Peden was very influential in my Christian growth. I felt like if he died of a massive heart attack, how could I really leave something that would be there a long time to help people? And that's where I got with his dad and Josh, and we looked at the area. We decided to build the Rick Peden home. And Josh, you shocked me the other day. You told me that we not only had 8 men staying at a time in there,
16 men.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
There's
Praise God.
4 rooms with 4 men, so
Wow,
16
praise
men.
God. Well, anyway, you told me we had over 1,000 men go through there.
We have, since you built that building, we've had over 1,000 men that's
Well,
been through that.
That's one of the things that I'm so proud of, because those men are able to go back to their families and have a wife and children back together, united with their husband, have a man or a woman to be back in the community and have a new life. And it's a great honor to Josh and his family. They've been doing this for years. And Todd, you know very well about the Home of Grace.
Well, Josh and I started working there on the same day. I mean, it was, he stayed with it, and I said, I got to get out of here. But no, we started, I can remember very clearly, you graduated Mississippi College, and you became the business manager of the Home of Grace, and I was the development manager. I have no idea what either one of us knew what we were doing, but you know, we had a willingness to get in there and hit somebody, like you say. And so, you know, again, you can't say enough about, you know, the Barton family. I mean, this is, how long, Josh? We're talking, what, 50-something years
57
now?
years.
57 years.
Praise God.
I can remember the 40th now. Don't go back to the 30th, but I do remember the 40th, the 50th, and a lot of great things out there. The dedication of the new facility was obviously, you know, sort of a historic moment, because those buildings that you're talking about sort of brought the Home of Grace into this new era. But this is a big organization now. This isn't, like I said, your grandpa's Home of Grace.
This is far beyond his wildest dreams.
Well,
And
I think
so,
all of us. I mean, it just even, you know, 20 years ago, there was a big difference. You know, 25 years ago, I know when I came and what the Home of Grace is today. And, you know, tell just a little bit about it, because you got professionalized services that are offered that are as good as anything that you're going to find anywhere.
Right. We're very blessed. We have a 120-bed men's facility in Van Cleve, where Butch sponsored one of the cottages. We have a 42-bed women's facility in Gaucher. And we have a phenomenal team of counselors and teachers. And when a man or woman enters the Home of Grace, they have individual counseling, group counseling, classroom instructions, workshops. We partner with a lot of others that help their individuals get their GEDs, work on marriage and family issues. And so we have a program that tries to help a man or woman pretty much cover every aspect of their life. So when they get ready to graduate, they have an action plan, and their action plan will help them find a good place to live, who their accountability people will be, what they're going to be looking for with work. They just have a whole list of things that they help cover with a man or woman before they graduate.
I think it's very important. Well, the Home of Grace survives on community involvement. You got a different group that comes out in the morning, at night, and that's been, you know, for those 50 years. But, you know, just recently you seem to, you know, see more and more of your community leadership from South Mississippi coming out there. I know we've had the privilege, you know, of bringing some people out this past year, you know, with Lee and with Roy and with Anthony. And, you know, Anthony Wilson, let's just take an example of somebody who was talking, and Brother Wayne says, how does that happen? Only in God's world. And from there, he gets involved. And I think he's joining your board of directors now. Roy Anderson, you know, comes out, sees, catches the fire. You know, it's just amazing to see how God works, because you never know. There could be somebody coming out, you know, this Friday.
Absolutely.
I think T's doing the graduation, and that's what it's all about. And Butch, you've had a big part to do with that.
Well, I've had a little part to do with it.
You've had a big part to do with it. We got on the phone and called him out.
Well, I've got great friends, Roy Anderson, Anthony Wilson, and quite frankly, they've gotten a fever like I have about serving the Lord and helping people in their lives. Home of Grace is about building back families, about building back the individual. And Anthony saw it, Roy saw it, and quite frankly, you and I, we got a little goal. I'm not going to mention it.
What is it?
We got. You want me to mention
Nah,
it?
nah, I hear it enough.
We got a goal of what we're going to do to try to raise money for the women's section, the new ladies section. You know, the ladies section is a little old, and we're trying to build a new ladies section. So anybody in the community that wants to help us, please contact Josh.
I think a
Okay.
lot more is going to be announced about that here in the
Very
near
near future.
future. And you know, again, you know, one of the ways that the Home of Grace, you know, stays in the community. I always tell people this. You know, this is where the Jolly came from. This is where it all came from. Was Home of Grace. We had a little golf tournament. Remember it clear as day. Rusty Gibbs coming into the Home of Grace. He's a PGA golf pro, and hey, let's take this thing to another level. Danny LeBlanc brought some food out. Went to
Right.
Shell Landing. Before you know it, you know, Jolly helped us with it and get it going, and Carl Crawford at Shell
Right.
Landing. You can name it all, and then it just has blossomed. So you got two super tournaments. You got Home of Grace holding their tournament every year. You got the Jolly every year, but it's really the same thing. It's bringing your community together, and that's coming up, what, just in a couple weeks?
Yeah, about 3 weeks. We're excited. We've already sold the tournament out, and first time we've ever done that a month before the event.
Right?
And but it's going to be an incredible event. Of course, all the money that we raise for that goes to scholarships for helping men and women enter our program. So it's very exciting to be a part of that.
I know that we couldn't do ours anymore. I started calling Home of Grace, and I get all the men to come out and help us. And actually, that's been a great
Yeah.
partnership,
Yeah.
you know, over the last couple of events, because those men want to give back, and they want to. I mean, they're such a tremendous help, and they're so respectful. You know, Joel has been you know, you're talking about Joel. But the women's facility, Josh, that is a major, I think, important milestone with Home of Grace.
It is. We have plans for a new women's facility. We've already purchased the property.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Roy Anderson has really come alongside us and helping us get our plans, some of our plans together. We've had some other engineers and architects that's been helping us along that journey. So we're super excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you know, there's such a vast need for individuals that are dealing with addiction, and we just want to be staying ahead of the times to be prepared for that in the future. And
Okay.
so yeah, and a lot of people, one thing I do like to share is a lot of times people don't understand how many families that affects. It pretty much affects everyone. And so if they're struggling, please consider reaching out. You're not the only one. In fact, you're in the norm.
Right.
If you or someone in your family is struggling. So reach out and get some help, and we want to be there for you.
I appreciate both you gentlemen taking the time today to come on and tell us a little bit about yourselves and, you know, how we can all make a difference in our community.
Thank you, Tom.